My MCU Chronological Rewatch continues with Iron Man 2 and Thor. What did I think of them more than a decade after they were released? Let's find out. Hello there. I'm Mr. Cobwobbles, this is Alfred, and today we are here to talk about Iron Man 2 and the first Thor movie. We rewatched them as part of our MCU Rewatch series. You can watch all of that right over there. And here's what I thought. Feel free to leave your thoughts below in the comments. Iron Man 2 was a bit of a mixed bag for me. However, I did have fun with my rewatch. Robert Downey Jr. still gives a good performance as Tony Stark. Don Cheadle as Rhodey is perfect. Coulson makes an appearance. Fury is in this. Black Widow is in this. And they all do a really good job. I also quite liked the villain. And the other villain. The entire cast really is on point. And so, I can't say anything bad about the actors. They really did a good job. And that's one of the things where this movie shines. It's really in the acting performances, but also in the humor. The humor really lands. I also feel like a lot of people hate this guy. I really like this guy. I don't know what to say, but I really like this guy. Now, sadly, the plot, or rather the plots in this movie, that's where the movie starts crumbling down a little bit. This film had big shoes to fill. It had to fill the shoes of the first Iron Man movie, which was great. Iron Man 2 is a classic example of wanting to do bigger and better, and in that process, proving that bigger doesn't always mean better. Iron Man had a focused story. It was solid and relatively small in scale. For Iron Man 2, they chose a story about a million different things, with the result that none of those story arcs actually reached their full potential. The problem in this movie is not the amount of characters, I feel, nor is it the amount of villains, because you have, well, 2 villains in here. It's the number of arcs that every character has. It makes the film feel way too bloated, and that's the film's biggest flaw. Regardless of that, I still had a really good time with this movie because of the humor, and visually it looks stunning. In the end, Iron Man 2 is not one of the MCU's strongest films, but it's still an enjoyable one. Iron Man 2 is satisfactorily watchable in sobriety. Now, I'm not sure why, but I remembered Thor as a really mediocre, average movie. I was wrong. I actually quite loved this one. I mean, it's not perfect, not by a long shot, but I actually enjoyed this one way more than Iron Man 2, and I thought that I wouldn't. But I did. I love the way they brought in Thor and the whole Norse mythology surrounding the character into the MCU, and taking into account that they had to set up Asgard and Jotunheim, all the characters there, and provide a story with characters here on Earth too. They did a really good job. Chris Hemsworth is hilarious as Thor, although I do feel like he has matured into the role more in Thor Ragnarok, but I really loved his performance here too. The family chemistry between him and Odin and Loki is really freaking satisfying. Anthony Hopkins is a great fit for Odin, perfect casting. Tom Hiddleston as Loki is just iconic and delightful. I love them. I love them. Now that I think of it, casting was done really well for this film. Natalie Portman's character, Jane Foster, was fun. Kat Dennings as Darcy Lewis was just a delight in the same way she was a delight in WandaVision. Stellan Skarsgård as Selvig was also fun. I love all of these characters. And for some reason, I didn't expect that with the rewatch of this film, but it was really fun. I mentioned this movie wasn't flawless, and well, it isn't. First off, visually, the film isn't as strong as Iron Man or Captain America, but that is mainly due to the fact that the scope of this film in terms of the worlds that they have to explore is way bigger than Iron Man and Captain America. So Marvel in this stage in phase 1 was very new to this, and so I kind of can forgive them for that. Although some scenes are just So some scenes just look ridiculous, but for the most part, it's serviceable. One thing that really bothered me, though, was the bond between Thor and Jane. Now, let me clarify. Their chemistry is really freaking good. Nicely done. But by the end of the movie, it feels like they've lived years together and they can't live without each other. They've grown to be so in love, while in reality, they just met a few days ago. They're acting like their love is eternal and majestic and beautiful and like something that like they've never felt before. And it's like, you build all that in a few days? That just doesn't seem that believable to me personally. It didn't feel natural to me. I would have also enjoyed to see more Thor action in this film, although when you see the Thor action, it's pretty freaking awesome. By the way, I also really loved the story arc of Thor in this film, like from arrogant to worthy. Odin throwing him out of Asgard to try and find himself and become worthy of Mjolnir is just, I really like that. I really dig that. In the end, Thor surprised me in my rewatch and I had tons of fun watching it. Thor is proven to be lit by this permit. Let me know what you thought of Iron Man 2 and Thor in the comments below. Next time we watch The Avengers and Iron Man 3. Thanks for watching. Feel free to watch another video. Until next time, hoot hoot, mother forkers.